Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today for a restorative practice. With restorative yoga here we're looking to find support between ourselves and the earth by using different props to help soften the edges between where we meet the ground, maybe support the joints as well. And we can also use things like weighted objects like bolsters or eye bags, or sometimes in yoga practices you even have like weighted bags, like sandbags, to add that comfort by having something placed on you and feeling weighted. Also, you might have a weighted blanket at home. There's not necessarily any like specific collection of props that you need for this practice. As you can see, I've got quite a lot rocking. I've got a couple blocks. I have 3 blankets. I've pre-folded them into this shoulder stand blanket fold. There's a little video on my page about that, but any fold is all good. You can work it out as you go along. And I have a big bolster and a slightly smaller bolster. You can always replace these with cushions, and you can, by all means, have more props. But the beauty of doing this at home is the fact that you can just grab whatever is around you, rather than feeling like you're carrying your entire bed to the restorative yoga class. Our focus for today is going to be on coming more inwards and coming home to yourself, finding a bit of self-awareness. The first place that we're going to come to is we're going to come led down, but by supporting underneath the knees, maybe underneath the ankles, potentially underneath the head, and we'll use some of our props to help with that. So I'm going to grab my bolster, but the bolster can always be a rolled up blanket or one of like a long sausage doggy style cushion. And I'm going to pop it in a place on my mat where it can go underneath my knees. I have a blanket at the top of my mat for my head. And what I might actually do as well is add a little bit of extra padding for the head and a little dip for the shoulders. So where I have a slightly raised edge that can lift towards me, I'm just going to fold the top half in half. So I've got like a little runway, one bit for my head and then a little dip for the shoulders. In terms of blankets can always go on you. I'm going to choose to have blanket kind of like rolled up and supported for roughly where my ankles will be. But blankets can always go on you to add like a bit of weight. So what I might actually do is fold this one up to lay on top. If I come into like a potential way that you can set yourself up just for demonstration purposes, don't mind me if I sit up. Hopefully you will be in your own world, just to offer some guidance or some things to be mindfully aware about when we're in our positions. Obviously, with anything, that you feel that you need to make any adjustments that you might need to make. What can be really nice here is to pop something weighted within the palms if the palms are out towards the side. And I highly encourage you to just, once you get yourself sorted, know that we'll be here for a little while. So if you feel that there are any places where you can really feel the earth, it's always a good thing to like kind of support the joints and check the joints first. So we're thinking like ankles, knees, if you need a little blanket underneath the hips, our shoulders and our head are supported. You can always have the arms maybe raised up on a block or other blankets or cushions. Pad yourself out, because our restorative yoga practice, compared to other yoga practices, is all about finding support, and it is really a yoga practice for the nervous system. That's why that weight on top of the body can feel nice, because it makes us feel safe. Know that when you found your place to settle, if there is any niggling thought that comes into the mind, that's all the part of like awareness or a niggle in the body. As soon as we become more aware, we might realize that we need to readjust, and that's all good. Just allowing ourselves to come to stillness. Or at least invite stillness. And it's when we allow ourselves to be human beings rather than human doings. When we pause, that we can take a true inventory of ourselves. We can take a moment to acknowledge ourselves. So acknowledge you. Allow the breath to be a natural ebb and flow. Like the tide of a calm sea. When you threw a stone in the sea, you would see the ripples. And you think of yourself as that stone and think about all the ripples, all the effects or effect that you have on people and the world around you. Allowing yourself a few more breaths here. Any transitions can be slow and soft. We're going to move ourselves to a supported twist. It might be that we gently move ourselves out and bring some props to the side. What could be quite nice is if we didn't have a blanket underneath us, underneath the hips, supporting the hips here. And feel needed. And a little folded up blanket to pop underneath, let's say, our left shoulder as we twist to the right. So if we're down, or we find ourselves down on our backs, if we find a little bend of both knees, we can extend the right leg long, hug the left knee in towards the chest, and allow the left knee to move over towards the right hand side. Now here I've placed a really big bolster that actually I can kind of hold on to with an arm as well as my leg. We can use any like props here, multiple cushions. You can always add like some blocks under the bolster to create a bit of a higher power. And I have this blanket that I've folded up, and I'm going to just pop underneath my left shoulder. Because where I've taken my left leg over towards the bolster more, I find that my left shoulder lifts. So finding a way to support the left shoulder and have it meet the ground, even if the ground is being lifted up with. with a blanket. At any point, again, when you come into this position, you feel like you need a bit more support, padding. This is a practice for feeling like you are being held. No need to suffer in silence here. And while we're in this place, maybe starting to think about being mindful. Mindfulness, or at the root of mindfulness, is awareness. So stop and take a conscious breath. Give your complete attention to your in-breath and your out-breath. And this doesn't have to end with just one singular in-breath and out-breath. It might be that we follow this conscious awareness and put attention on our breath whilst we're here on this side. When we stop and take a breath in this way, we unite the body and the mind and come back home to ourselves. We feel our bodies more fully. We are only really truly alive when the mind is with the body. And the great news is that this oneness of body and mind can be realized with just one singular in-breath. Maybe you've noticed that we've not been kind enough to our body for some time. Or maybe you are grateful for the kindness that you have shown to it. Recognizing any tension or stress in the body or any ease and softness allows us to bathe in our mindful awareness. We'll begin to let the thought of maybe moving to the other side begin to enter your mind space. We might gently move the left leg away from the bolster and bring ourselves more central. We can bend both knees, perhaps taking a constructive rest where the feet are reasonably as wide as the yoga mat and the knees are in towards each other. Maybe removing the blanket from underneath the left shoulder. And then we'll bring ourselves to the other side. So this might involve extending the left leg long, popping the bolster or cushion onto our left hand side, and allowing the right knee to hug in towards the chest and fall over towards the left side. Any propping of the right shoulder as you see fit. And any addition of any other props. Maybe you need more padding and support for the hips. Maybe you would like a weight on top of you. Your poses don't need to look a certain way, and by all means, they do not need to be the same as the way that anyone else is experiencing them. Bringing ourselves back, perhaps, to watching the breath. When you practice this mindfulness of breathing, you know right away that you are alive, and that being alive is a wonder. Allowing yourself to breathe in naturally while focusing your attention on your in-breath. The in-breath like a morning sunshine on a flower that has closed overnight. The sunshine doesn't interfere with the flower. The sunshine just embraces and subtly permeates the flower. Embraced by the energy of the sunshine, the flower begins to bloom. A few more breaths here. Bringing ourselves gently out of our twist, maybe finding that constructive rest once more, removing any props that make us feel unbalanced between left and right, or that might no longer be required as we come to the center. The next place that we're going to come is actually to be led on our fronts. But there's always a little bit of setup for our support. So I have propped up a bolster, but this could be like a long cushion or a stack of cushions where the tail end is a little bit higher than the bottom end. So I've put one high block, for example, and one slightly shorter block and led the bolster on top. And any props can be used to make this little mound. When we're led on our fronts, there might be a couple parts of the body that we might want to support. So I'm actually going to roll up this blanket all the way to being in half, a little bit more of like a hot dog or sausage dog fold. So I can rest my forehead and my hands on it. I'm going to have another little bit of support, maybe a little bit flatter for my chest. And that will carry on to the hip support I had from earlier. Please know that, again, you can add any slightly different arrangements or even very different arrangement of props to help you out here. So we're going to end up having our shins roughly elevated on this prop. So a gentle all fours position, taking the knees to the base of the prop. This is where I potentially realize that I haven't gone as far as I need to. There we go. I'll take my knees either side. Actually, that feels very nice. You can always support the knees with a blanket by popping a blanket under the bottom of the bolster, but quite long. And then we'll bring ourselves down. And you can have your forehead towards the earth. Maybe clasp the hands together and hold the head. I'll try not to stay down there too long as it makes me very mumbly on the mic. Or we can have an ear to the side, maybe using a cushion. And acknowledging, as with all the other poses, if there is somewhere that doesn't feel quite right, or that there are some forms of niggles or ways in which we might need to amend. Even I am taking a leaf out of my own book and doing some little amendments here. And coming to settle. Hopefully finding again that we've softened the edges in between where our body meets the earth. If at any point you acknowledge the screen, know that having the head down or using some form of cushion so your head is resting is where we likely will be here. And that my head is only lifted so that I don't go all mumbly. Any place where we're bringing our forehead in the direction of the earth allows us here, rather than to just focus our attention on our breath, maybe more bring our attention or awareness to ourselves, our intuition. The truth of us. And sometimes it can be hard to listen to our truth, our intuition, with so much going on in the world around us. And maybe that breath is a good start to bring our attention inward. And that road then leads us to thinking inward about our own truth and self. Similar to how we said that the breath connects the mind and the body, our mind very much maps out the directions, while our heart is the needle that intuits true north. The heart maybe being our intuition. And while our mind maps out the directions, while our heart or intuition is the needle that intuits true north. Mark Nepo says that the mind, the mapper of directions, is a hungry tiger that can never be satisfied. It is timeless, swimming in and out of our hands, bringing us forward into places we wouldn't go. So listening to ourselves, our intuition of what we're not aware of, involves silencing the tiger, but keeping ourselves open to experience. If something timeless can move through us. This can be difficult, for sitting quietly with hands open in the middle of the day is suspect in our age. We can be misperceived as lazy or incompetent or not quite tethered to reality. But silencing the tiger in our mind and staying open to where the heart wants to lead us is what keeps us connected to our deeper reality. Just like when we inhale and exhale, we silence the noise and open our heart for deeper listening, deeper presence. Taking a few more breaths here. And with each of the breaths we take together, maybe allow yourself to be more present with yourself. And listen to what your heart wants you to hear. I will leave you here. You stay as long as you wish, or support yourself in other restorative poses before you end your practice. Thank you very much for joining me. See you soon.